I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. We're going to get to the latest desperate move from the January 6th committee in moments. But first, the great unraveling. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, reportedly very frustrated about his disastrous poll numbers, President Biden joked about not leaving Europe today.
There's an old expression in a little town in Delaware called Claymont, Delaware, a little steel town. And they say, we're like poor relatives. We show up when we're invited and we stay longer than we should. So be careful, we may not go back.
All right, well, I couldn't blame him, right? Hiding out in Europe would seem a lot more preferable to coming back home and facing the wrath of America. Now, what you're witnessing is the great unraveling of the Democrats. 85% of Americans now believe that the country is moving in the wrong direction, including a whopping 78% of Democrats. So what's making people so pessimistic? Well, new Gallup data points directly to the economy, not cultural issues, not January 6th concerns. 67% of Americans say gas prices are causing them financial pain. 62% say the price of gas means they're driving less, and 55% say gas prices are forcing them to change their vacation plans. And it gets even gnarlier because today we found out that the Biden economy, get this, contracted more in Q1, the first quarter, than previous estimates. So now it's a 1.6% annualized decline. Not good. Now, it's horrible, but the guy who totally missed inflation a year ago, the Angle was warning about it, as you recall, says essentially, don't worry, be happy.
The U.S. economy is actually in pretty strong shape. If you look at the strength of the economy, households are in very strong financial shape. The same thing is true of businesses.
Talk about out of touch, like purposely misleading the country. And, of course, he was reappointed by Congress for another term. You just can't make this up. Zero accountability ever in this administration for getting things wrong, which they do a lot. And with all this bad news that's swirling around, Hill Democrats are getting increasingly annoyed, maybe you've noticed this, at the White House's lame PR moves. Democrat Congressman Ruben Gallego of Arizona sniped to Politico that I think ultra MAGA is not a good talking point. And one Democrat strategist said Putin's price hike is not meeting voters where they are. But it doesn't matter because Biden is undeterred, tweeting today that the ultra MAGA agenda has always been about taking away women's rights in every single state. Okay. It's actually so dumb that it's sad at this point. And the only sensible conclusion has to be that the Biden people, they're kind of enjoying this. It's masochistic for them to stay on the same policy course. But it's also sadistic because at some level, they have to be relishing America's pain, rejoicing almost in the fact that our workers are losing good-paying jobs in the oil and gas industry.
We just had a recent report that was put out that's showing all of the energy and the employment stats from last year. Clean energy is winning. Fossil fuels losing jobs.
What a lovely woman. Well, just more evidence that the Democrats truly have forgotten the working class in America. As Arizona GOP congressional candidate Renee Lopez wrote in Newsweek, terrific piece, saying American families are struggling. Rather than address this issue, Democratic politicians have asked the working class to sacrifice more, while liberal celebrities dismiss the concerns and even poke fun at those feeling the impact. 100% correct. No relief at all for those people who are hurting. But Democrats have a lot of time to cater to the concerns of the radical left. Now, case in point, while they won't open up more federal land for drilling, they are pushing for a transgender Bill of Rights because Americans, they have to be clamoring for gender-affirming care and gender identity to be included in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Isn't that at the top of your list? Are Democrats trying to lose as many seats as possible in November?
Every major medical association agrees gender-affirming care is life-saving, medically necessary, age-appropriate, and a critical tool for healthcare providers. As a pediatrician, when it comes to making sure kids are healthy and happy, I know how important care that affirmed someone's true identity can be.
Wow, the goal here is insidious. It's not about equality, it's about destruction. Destroying parents' rights to raise their children with the values that they see fit. Now, Rachel Levine's values, remember, they're better, they're superior to any parents who believe in traditional gender roles. Because, of course, she would be more caring and more inclusive. After all, it's affirming. Not according to one of the young women who at age 17 is now in the process of detransitioning after being bullied by a so-called medical professional and pushed into gender reassignment. Meet Chloe from California.
My name is Chloe Cole, and I am a 17-year-old detransitioner from the Central Valley. I was medically transitioned from ages 13 to 16. My parents took me to a therapist who affirmed my male identity, and the therapist did not care about causality or encourage me to learn to be comfortable in my body. He brushed off my parents' concerns about the efficacy of hormones, puberty blockers, and surgeries. My parents were given the threat of suicide as a reason to move me forward in my transition.
Okay, this is beyond disturbing. How many young people do you think are going through the same gender identity indoctrination?
My endocrinologist, after 2 to 3 appointments, put me on puberty blockers and injectable testosterone. At age 15, I asked to remove my breasts. My therapist continued to affirm my transition. I attended a top surgery class that was filled with around 12 girls that thought they were men. Most were my age or younger. None of us were going to be men. We were fleeing from the uncomfortable feeling of becoming women. I was unknowingly physically cutting off my true self from my body, irreversibly and painfully.
Okay. That the American Medical Association and other medical groups and the Biden administration actually support this, it's not just scandalous. This is criminal. It is child abuse. These kids don't even understand what they're doing or understand that these procedures have life-changing consequences. Every American parent should watch Chloe's brave testimony.
Our trans identities were not questioned. I went through with surgery. Despite having therapists and attending the top surgery class, I really didn't understand all of the ramifications of any of the medical decisions I was making. I wasn't capable of understanding, and it was downplayed consistently. My parents, on the other hand, were pressured to continue my so-called gender journey with a suicide threat. I will never be able to breastfeed a child. I have blood clots in my urine. I am unable to fully empty my bladder. I do not yet know if I am capable of carrying a child to full term. In fact, even the doctors who put me on puberty blockers and testosterone do not know.
This mutilation of our children is what the Democrat Party now stands for, proudly. Along, of course, with wanting more abortions, obsessing about January 6th, smearing everyone they disagree with as racist, forcing you to become poorer for their green fantasy, and funding hopeless wars. That's what they think Americans will vote for in November? Their great unraveling is underway. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.